Episode 203 of the Love and Lebanon podcast is packed with exciting updates throughout the three Boys and Girls Club of Boone County units. We check in with the BGC CEO Eric Richards to get programming, staffing, and long-term updates. Find out what's in the works as area groups collaborate to help meet the needs of area teens. Episode 203 of the Love and Lebanon podcast starts now.
Welcome to the Love and Lebanon podcast, highlighting all the great things happening in Lebanon, Indiana. Have an idea for an episode? Send an email to loveandlebanon@lebanon.in.gov.
Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 203 of the Love and Lebanon podcast. Joe LePage, the City of Lebanon Communications and Community Development Director here. So many moving parts, so many great nonprofits doing great things within our community, and we've got the Chief Executive Officer of one of those great nonprofits and one of those great organizations, Eric Richards from the Boys and Girls Club of Boone County, joining us for episode 203. Eric, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Joe, thank you. This is wonderful to be back. It's been a second.
It's been a second, and getting your schedule and mind to line up. You're a busy guy. A lot of moving parts going on with the club. It seems like even though the weather has been cold, things are always rolling and heating up at the club, no matter what unit you're looking at.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. I tell people how surprised I have been the last 2 years about how many miles I've put on my vehicle and thinking that, oh, I'm going to be in one county instead of statewide or what have you, my previous role. And I've actually put more miles on my vehicle in this role than I did previous, even though it was a bigger geographic area. So literally the I-65 corridor, 32, the back roads, I pretty much know the way in between Zionsville and Lebanon and in between all routes.
And so you got your ways to navigate to your shortest route and being able to find your...
The interstate's always the shortest, but I do enjoy, I will admit, I take the more rural routes and try to find new ways to get here and to kind of stay off the beaten path. So you may see the Boone County Boys and Girls Club license plate on the back of my vehicle driving down a random road sometime in Boone County for sure.
That's awesome. I think the last time we had you on the pod, it was kind of recapping, kind of bringing all the three units under one umbrella and you being able to organize and run and facilitate all three. How has that gone, and how unique is it to be able to have three different units within the county operating as the Boys and Girls Club, but at the same time, kind of a different identity in each of those locations?
There are certainly three different identities for each of the locations that we do have, and it's a really unique, I think it's a unique organization because of the diversity that we see in the families that walk through the front doors, just the entire gamut of things that you can categorize people and things in. And so we really do experience it all as an organization, which is, I think, is unique. We have different school corporations, different school calendars, and then we have overlap. So at Whitestown, as example, we have kids from Lebanon schools and from Zionsville schools. So how to manage and juggle that, because of course, none of the fall breaks or spring breaks or anything is congruent, and so they're typically off. And so trying to navigate, okay, we need to be open where we can for families during these, but at the same time, it's going to be a different schedule. So how do we juggle that? So it's been really interesting, sort of infrastructure to how to organize ourselves infrastructure wise, because we're still, when you think about it, relatively new as a countywide organization. So they're still learning nuances. And when you have a leadership transition and changes like we've had, it provides even more challenges, but then opportunity to say, okay, how can we centralize our operation, but also respect the fact that we have differences in the people that walk through the front doors, through scheduling, through the buildings that we have to accommodate the families and kids that walk through our doors, and everything in between. So it really has been. It's been a little bit of a chess match.
I bet, yeah.
In some ways of putting the pieces together. And we're certainly not where we want to be 5, 10, 20 years from now. But I'm proud of what's happened the last 2 years of sort of building up the infrastructure and investing in the organization the way that we have.
And you transition nicely into the kind of the next topic I was thinking about. And we talked about the three different units, Whitestown, Zionsville, and Lebanon, operating separately, but also under one umbrella. There's an event coming up, and it's the dunk event, the basketball themed, and we're all into March Madness, everybody. Getting ready for it anyway here in our part of the state, and where basketball is king, of course, coming up on March 22nd. The organizational fundraiser, if you can kind of talk about, it went well enough in 2024. You guys are bringing it back in 25. I love looking back at the pictures from that event. Everybody's got the basketball jerseys on, and there's so many basketball themed events, and then we're rolling around again. How excited are you for Dunk 2.0 in 2025?
It is 2.0. I'm super excited. Last year was a big hit and a super unique event, I think. And really, as we were trying to determine, okay, we knew we wanted to do an evening focused event that would be for adults 21 plus only. And so we were, sort of brainstorming like what can we do as an organization to do something a little bit different that's happening. And so we decided, okay, what do people know us for? And of course, before and after school programming is a big one. And then middle school dances would be one. Gravy chase, people know us for that. But rec basketball is historically one that, I remember taking the job, and I had to put a plug out to my alma mater, Franklin College, and how that's related is I went to school with a lot of great people from Lebanon, and so I remember I took the job, and they reached out, some of my Lebanon folks that I had gone to college with, and just said, "Hey, I played basketball at the club. I remember being there. That's so awesome." So super exciting as it relates to that. But basketball really I was a coach for my son before I came on staff, as example. I played at the club in Franklin, Indiana, in Johnson County growing up. So that it was near and dear to my heart. But then the community as well, and then you marry that with Indiana's love of Hoosiers hysteria and all the things, and so it made a lot of sense to have something that was centered on the basketball theme. And so through our team that we have, a sort of planning committee, Dunk was kind of the name that we wanted to come up with a unique name, but then also really describes what the event is in some ways. And so we're really excited to have 2.0, and it is right around, I won't mention specific trademark names, but there's a fairly large basketball tournament that's happening around that time of year.
Yes, there is.
So we're, that makes a lot of sense too, that it's congruent with that. And I think we're really excited to host that.
And everybody, you'll see in the graphic, I'll share some of the images from last year's event, and it's what you would think about if you kind of let your mind wander. There's Pop-A-Shot, it's all those kind of basketball themed fun little activities, and a fundraiser for a great cause, and it's an over 21 event, so you can kind of let your hair down a little bit and
that's right.
kind of get right into it.
Yeah, that's right. So Saturday, March 22nd at our Whitestown unit. That's our biggest facility, so it accommodates the crowd better, so that makes a lot of sense for us to host it there. Plus, that's sort of in between to the communities that we're in. Local restaurants will be part of that, so we'll have food, we'll have local partners for drink. The games that you mentioned already, caricature artists are actually
the caricature.
You see those a lot, so it's not super unique, but it's super popular. But and you look back, and the most popular thing that we offered, which I thought was super cool, and I actually have this in my office. Everyone was able to leave with a trading card of themselves. So
that's awesome.
They get a sleeve that they put it in, and it's really becomes this commemorative thing. So by far the best feedback that we had, the most positive feedback, was around getting that little trading card when you leave. We'll have lounge and have some live games on and those kinds of things, so people can keep up on what's happening in the world as it relates to basketball.
And that basketball gathering that may be going on during the event and things like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's just really a silent auction. So you sort of your traditional aspects of a fundraising event, because that's what it is. That will also happen. So last year that was also really, really popular. It's just gonna be a great time, and then it's casual. So a lot of feedback as we were planning was, we don't need another black tie event. Let's make it casual. So we said, okay, let's do that, but then up the ante a little bit. And wore basketball jerseys. So we had staff and board and sort of Boys and Girls Club branded jerseys, but then people wore their IU and Purdue jerseys or their Pacers jerseys or their Michael Jordan or whatever the case may be, the alma maters. And so we had it would be interesting to get a picture with everybody and all the differences and jerseys that people had on. But it was super cool. Just I think the view of the event, if you were to walk into the room and see the setup, it's neat. I think we did it. I'm biased, but we did a really good job with it, and I'm really excited to see the growth of the event here in just about a month.
Outstanding. And everybody, once again, we'll put a link to the tickets, and you can find out more information by clicking that link. Again, Dunk in 2025 comes up on March 22nd. A great fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club of Boone County, taking place at the Whitestown unit. You're listening to episode 203 here. We got Eric Richards, the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Boone County. Now, being a little bit biased, we talk about all three campuses, but more specifically, we're centered around Whitestown and Lebanon because a lot of Lebanon kiddos hang out at both of those locations. Talk about some of the great staff that continue to be with you guys, not only through the kind of restructuring of under one umbrella, but different changes that come and go with different organizations. Got a chance, and everybody, chances are, who Bridget Griffin is. She's the interim director of the Lebanon unit, and want to give you a minute, Eric, or more, to talk about her and what she's meant to the club. I know having a couple kiddos go through the doors of the Boys and Girls Club Lebanon unit, seeing her there and being able to have a friendly face be your interim director currently.
Yeah, Bridget's done a wonderful job the last 2 months, and no official announcement here, but the hope is that we name her the full-time director sooner rather than later, and I think she's more than proven herself, not only in this interim role, but previously. And she lives in Lebanon, right down the street from the club. Her daughter is, I think she's in the band program. And I'm getting the name wrong here. My kids are younger than the high school age, so I don't know all the clubs and activities and things like that. But her daughter was a club kid and now works at the club part-time.
That's so great.
She's a senior at the high school, and so it's a really family affair for her. And you can't find a more dedicated or heartfelt individual than Bridget, and in terms of the way that she cares about each and every single kid that walks through that door each and every day. And it shows. I mean, if you were to observe her at the club in the morning, and before school care, or in the afternoon, she lives, breathes the club. And I can't think of a more appropriate person to lead the effort here, especially as we're 72 years old this year in Lebanon. We're approaching a very big anniversary in 3 years, and we have a lot of big plans and ideas, and we really need a leader who's going to help us achieve that. Most importantly, engage people in the community with the club. We've had merged into the Boone County wide organization about 8 years ago now, and so we want to bring folks back in that maybe we don't know. Maybe they were around. Maybe your mom and dad were founding board members back in the 40s or 50s, or you have stories. And so we're really trying to engage folks in that way as we approach the 75th anniversary. And Bridget is just a wonderful conduit to that, and really helping to serve kids in the way that we can and should be serving them.
Very well said. Folks, you've been listening to episode 203 with Eric Richards here, the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Boone County, here on the Love and Lebanon podcast. And we're kind of getting into some things. We talked about staffing, and we talked about a great event that's coming up. If you can kind of talk about now, Eric, the kind of thought process of, maybe in the past, the thought was that the Boys and Girls Club was either before or after school, that type of thing, and we'll babysit your kids, that type of thing, and we'll have a couple leagues and things like that. Sure. Just yesterday, the Glow Dance tickets went on sale. There's also, looking at the website, the Winter Formal, and there's a whiteout party. It seems like the Boys and Girls Club of Boone County is making that transition into not just the before and after school, sure, the league, sure, but it seems like there's a place for kids to be and be able to kind of meet other young people and just have that place, that safe place to thrive.
Yeah.
Is that kind of been one of the efforts, the missions, the goals of the organization?
There's certainly the fact that most people arguably would know us for our before and after school programming. I mean, that's our sort of bread and butter. And I talk about, if there were three things you had to talk about at the club and you had to describe the club, what would the three things be? And certainly before and after school care, every single day throughout the county, more than 425 kids are walking through our doors each and every day, getting off buses, that whole parade of kids every morning or afternoon that happens. So that's certainly part of it. And interestingly, the club is growing I think it really mirrors the fact that Boone County is the second fastest donut county within central Indiana County, I believe, in the
absolutely.
state.
Yep, us and Hamco, right after Hamco.
Yeah, and so that's reflective in also the numbers of kids that we're seeing at the club and walking through our doors each way. So we have capacity issues, just like the schools do, and et cetera. So we're obviously looking at that and thinking about what that might look like. And so over the last few years, the club has grown. And so when you compare us to other clubs in the state of Indiana, we're about in the top 3 in terms of average daily attendance. And that means that those are the kids that walk through the doors each day. And that means we're one of the top 3 largest clubs in the entire state of Indiana in terms of the overall number of kids. Where we've struggled, and other organizations, and this is a Boone County-wide epidemic, and we're sitting at the table with other organizations to determine what next steps might be able to help curb some of this, and that is our teen population, the teens that we serve. We're in the bottom 2 statewide in terms of the number of teens that walk through the doors. And so really we're putting a concerted effort into, we have this after school, but we want to have this opportunity for teens. A separate space where they're not. I probably alluded to this last time we talked. But we're a little bit further down the road now on that. But having a separate place for teens to come that have resources for them that they're interested in. So whether that's an esports league or esports hardware to things like podcasting that we're doing right here, that could be a really cool opportunity for our older kids to get more experience. Up to a full-fledged workforce development, for lack of a better word, but a work readiness program where we're working with Ivy Tech and Lilly and Meta or whomever it might be, where we're part of, and people and kids, high school age kids, are getting practical skills to either help get them into the workforce or have a direct link to the workforce with relationships and partnerships that we might have with these corporations and things. That is not a unique program for Boys and Girls Club. From an America-wide perspective, there are clubs that do workforce readiness programming. We do a little bit of it. We're just scratching the surface, but we have a wonderful opportunity to be a bigger part of that if we have the right accommodations. And right now, thus is our challenge. So you talk about what other things do we do? One of the things is really focusing in on teens, and then how do we serve more? How do we work with other organizations in town to sort of collaborate together instead of trying to work in silos like we often do so many times? How do we collectively come together and work together towards a common goal? So that's a focus area. But you mentioned social events is socialization. That's a big part of the work that we do. So we want to provide those social opportunities. So whether that be middle school dances is a big part of our calendar, as you alluded to. And so we invite any kid, 7th and 8th grader specifically, who is interested to be part of that. Of course, you mentioned sort of the rec leagues, but how do we even expand that further? Right now, there are 850 kids in our winter basketball league. That is as full as we can get with the space that we have. So we have an immediate need for court space. I don't know, there's sort of an epidemic of the lack of basketball court space statewide, community-wide. And so with the population growth, like who accommodates? There's a great, Farmers Field House, obviously. We're a niche of the basketball community, I'll say, and recreational basketball is what people know the club for. And so for us, we need to be looking at, okay, how do we accommodate this? So we want to build on what we've done for years, but expand that so it's a year-round athletic program that any kid, regardless of athletic ability, can participate in the program. So right now in basketball, you have kids that'll probably be on the varsity team of one of the high schools at some point, playing alongside with kids. Maybe this is their basketball.
Yeah.
This is when they play basketball in their lifetime, and they're going to be incredible at something else in their lifetime. So that's a big a focus area for the club. And then just looking at other opportunities of leadership building, community service building. There are programs that we've scratched the surface and implemented in some ways, but I think there could be a bigger concerted effort. So that what we're saying is when a kid looks at, or a parent looks at the club and what the offering is, that is so sort of diverse that there's something for everyone.
Something for everybody. Yeah,
and that way we're attracting kids to come to the club, if you will, and that we have a plethora of opportunity to grow. And that's the whole goal of the club, that, we're dropping your kid off at a place that's safe, and they're going to be safe at the club. But the Boys and Girls Club is more than just after-school care.
Yeah.
It's leadership development, it's character development, civic development. It's getting kids involved, but providing that safe space. So we're looking at just a variety of opportunity. Our strategic plan, like I said, the creation of that is on the tail end of the written part, and now is going to be implementation, and part of that's going to be what areas we can focus on and grow, so we're remaining relevant.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of leads itself into kind of, as we're rounding third base and heading towards home here with Eric Richards, the CEO of the Boys and Girls Club of Boone County, kind of the future plans. You talked about the strategic plan, and when you're cutting a promo for the Community Foundation and all their great work, and how they've helped augment the kind of planning of what's going on, and also the staff help that they're providing as well. Chances are you've been down West Main Street, everybody, and have seen what was kind of a purple building that was kind of an eyesore thanks to a paint job. We were thankful for Eric for that, and the leadership there. It looks different, but at the same time, the space does not look different. It's been a kind of a confined space, a landlocked, more or less, space in that part of our community. If we can kind of talk about the growth model and how Boone County as a whole, and certainly Lebanon, is growing and will continue to do so with the additions of some of the things in the Leap District and just the overall kind of ripple effect, the Circle City on out to the Donut Counties. But what does the growth model look like for not only all three units, but Lebanon as well? Facilities, and how does the strategic plan kind of align and kind of forecast that future to be able to provide for those kids and do all the great programming that you mentioned, and being able to do so maybe in a space that may look a little bit different. It may have a different address for specifically Lebanon, but throughout other units as well.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that facility on Main Street where we are currently has been operating since the 1960s. In fact, where you and I are sitting today was sort of our first 20 years we were in. I don't know exactly what it looked like. I know it's a little bit different than where we are today. But this is where the first club site was. Much different, obviously, organization than it is today. But we've been on Main Street in that facility since the 60s, and of course added on in various ways, in the gym and the cafeteria area, and refurbished and remodeled along the way. I am very proud of the fact that we did invest in the physical facility last year, and a new paint job, new roof, new gutters, some HVAC work, finishing up the gym floor, and just trying to upgrade some of our kitchen machinery. So
the way it used to look to the way it looks now is night and day. It's wonderful.
Well,
so much better.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
We I think you might be able to see the building from outer space. It is that the blue on that, but it is the Boys and Girls Club blue. So I have to kind of make fun of that myself.
It's an eye
on
catcher
that.
for
But
sure.
People know it's the club. But no, we're proud to be here, and proud to be examining what's next for the club, and that is okay. Right now we're at capacity, so if you were to come in the afternoon, there's not a whole lot of room for elbow room or to add a lot more kids, and we know as the county grows that the need is going to be even larger for a safe space for families to send kids after school. And so we really are looking hard at, okay, what's next? The other thing of interest for me, and I would say concern in some ways, is the lack of green space at our current location. And I think it's really important, and we know that from the other two locations, that green space, in particular during summer camp, in the summertime, but really any time of the year, is really important to the growth of a child. So right now in Lebanon, we have no outdoor play equipment, we have no outdoor green space, and that requires us to utilize transportation a lot of times to get over to green space
You
versus
guys were using like the Cragen House parking lot for a minute, it seemed like, during the summer anyway. That kind of
two summers,
not ideal.
No, not ideal, but you work with what you have.
Sure.
And so the city was nice enough to help us put some barriers up around the parking lot across the street on the north side of our property. And we had a pop-up tent and as for some shading, but you imagine 90 degrees outside on asphalt in the middle of summer. We could go out there, the kids that arrive at 6 a.m. and take advantage,
Yeah.
but in the middle of the day. So it's just not really conducive to that outdoor space. And plus, we want to grow, as the aforementioned, recreational sports program. We want to have, in an ideal world, we would have either a shared teen center of some sort where we're working with, again, Mental Health America, the Boone County Mentoring, YMCA, and I don't mean to leave anyone out, but just to give you some examples of some folks that we've been chatting with and et cetera, and where we're helping to lead an effort in having that. So we would want to have a teen space, whatever that looks like. I grew up at a club, as I mentioned, and I attended and played basketball every day after school in high school. In my later, right now, because of the way that our curriculum has changed, each kid walks in as part of what we call a colored pod, and those pods are of a similar age range, and they move around the building at specific time frames and et cetera. And so right now, if you're a 17-year-old and not on the basketball team at Lebanon High School, when it comes shoot baskets with your buddies, back in the day, the doors to the club would be open when you could come in and do just that. Today, we're utilizing the space for programming, so our younger kids take the gym. So if we do have a teen night, it has to be in the evening, which requires
Transportation,
to come
all the
back
planning.
out
Yep,
after
yep.
school. And I think that's great in the sense that it's something to offer teenage kids. I think we could do better. And I think it's really crucial to have things, especially for those who aren't involved with other activities, a space to come when that bell rings at the end of the day at 2:30 or around there, that they have a place to go. And so we're going to be putting a concerted effort into looking at what's next. We've already, again, been talking with partners all over the community, the mayor's office, other partners, other nonprofit organizations, donors.
Because money helps.
Money helps.
Yeah.
The corporate world within the community too, to get folks on board. And so my hope is, I mentioned we're 72 years old and we've got this big 75th anniversary coming up. And the hope is, I can't, there's nothing definitive today, so I'm not announcing anything, but I hope that, at some point within the next 3 years, there is a big announcement that's made that there is some sort of a ribbon cutting on the calendar, and that we have our eye on what the future looks like. And it's just the next step in the organization's history, and that's exciting. Yeah. That means that we're still relevant, and that we have this great opportunity to serve more of our community in the way. And then most importantly, we're able to keep those costs low, and we have great majority of the families that walk through the doors either have reduced or free registration or free scholarship. And they also we provide meals, right? So that's been something that we've done for quite a while. And we're still each and every day about 85 meals that are served each day. And Chop House on the Square and Lily have also partnered up with us to provide hot meals for families to take home in the evening.
That's awesome.
So each day, almost 5 days a week, we have food that parents, when they're coming to pick up their kids, can grab on the way out, and it's really good food too. And so, which is super exciting. But so that's kind of what we're looking at as it relates to the future, accommodating growth. And so we're looking all over the community and places that would make a lot of sense, that would provide as easy transportation from the schools as possible, to and from the school as possible, but also access to partners and others that can support the work that we're doing.
Fantastic. Eric, I'm so glad you're at the wheel. It's fantastic that you're juggling all these different units and the different issues that are coming up, and appreciate you taking some time and coming in and recording with us. And again, everybody, I'll put a link to the tickets and the different topics we talked about, and also the website that you can follow along with just all the great things that are taking place with the Boys and Girls Club of Boone County, checking out all 3 units and all the great things they have going on there. Eric, thanks again for being here. Appreciate
Joe,
it.
this is a wonderful opportunity to be here. And I'll just say, we can't do what we do. The club relies on the support of the community to be able to do what we do. And we're just super grateful for 72 years of support. And we hope that we'll get even more and bring even more people into the loop, like I mentioned earlier, to help grow and to look at what our future, because it's going to look like. It's extremely bright, and we're very fortunate to have the support that we do. So we say thanks.
That's awesome. Everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of the Love and Lebanon podcast. More episodes coming your way. Take care.